All right. Welcome everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. Apologies for the notification from the Teams system, but lots of people are still connecting. I am Cécile Michel, and I'm part of the Mufpp Secretariat, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar titled Mufpp Approach to Food Action on Climate. And thank you very much for joining us. Today we are very much excited because we are launching a new resource for our cities and beyond. I mean, for all local governments, but also city officers, practitioners and experts wishing to advance their climate food related work. In the chat box, I've put the agenda for today. And without further ado, I would like to start with Filippo Gavazzeni, who's the head of the Mufpp Secretariat, for some welcoming and introductory remarks. So Filippo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cécile, and good day, everyone. I am very, very happy to be here with you to open this important webinar, and we can see that it's important also from the number of participants that are joining. And let me start by recalling the exciting journey that is bringing us here today. We started in 2021 in Barcelona when the city decided to host the 7th Milan Urban Food Policy Pact Global Forum. I think many of you will remember for sure that impressive event. On that occasion, on the Global Forum, we launched, led by the city of the municipality of Barcelona, the Barcelona Challenge for Good Food and Climate. So we did an exercise during the many months of preparation that some of the organizing remembers very well. We drew from the Milan Pact Framework for Action and the C40 Good Food Declaration to create the Barcelona Challenge, that is a call for cities to engage in a series of commitments related to the transformation of the food system to tackle the climate emergency. That was the main issue of the Global Forum. So we had a good number of cities from different countries in the world that took up the challenge and decided to work on food and climate related action for over 1 year. But after that, we didn't want, let's say, to lose the commitment of those cities and also the knowledge that all of us acquired. And we decided to evolve the Barcelona Challenge. That's why we started working by exploiting the opportunity of the challenge on a proposed complementary action and indicators of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact Framework for Action that are inspired actually by the Barcelona Challenge. It's a voluntary advanced tool that complement the Milan Pact action and indicators for cities that are particularly commitment to work on the transformation of the food system through the climate lenses. So let me conclude my welcoming remarks, because I think there's plenty of speakers and contents that you would like to hear. But before closing, a special thanks goes to Carasso Foundation for its vision and continuous support, and also to the Spanish Network for Cities for Agroecology and to RUAF, that are all key partners in this exciting journey. Let me conclude by thanking also FAO, who has accompanied us since the inception of the Milan Pact back in 2014, and is continuing to work together with us, and this is also an example. So thank you very much to all of us that are involved in this journey, and thank you for contributing to the development of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. Back to you, Cécile.
Thank you, Filippo. And as you mentioned, the FAO, I am happy to welcome Guido Santini, who's the program coordinator at the FAO. And it is also thanks, as you said, to the FAO that we decided back in 2016 to set up the MUFPP monitoring framework. So I'm eager to listen to Guido to share what this process has been and the crucial role of the FAO. Guido, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, and thank you, Filippo, for the introduction. Yes, I would like to go back a bit farther in the journey. So, starting from 2016, when basically FAO organized one of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact annual gathering, and at that time we also agreed to jointly develop this monitoring framework. So I have a few slides that I will going to project. Sorry, just 1 second. Where is the share? Okay. Okay, so basically this is a work. I hope everybody sees my slides.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well.
This is a journey, I would say, that started in 2016. It was a joint effort between FAO, the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, and RUAF, where we decided to start, under the request of many members of the pact, to start developing a mechanism to help cities developing their own food policies. No? So the idea of this framework was to facilitate the design of policies, for creating an evidence base, identifying the priorities for intervention. So the framework also provides guidance on how to prioritize actions, defining the target, and also understanding the progress through dedicated indicators that could measure the progress. And of course, this is also an instrument to help cities to mobilize resources, to show evidence and progress of actions towards transformation of urban food systems, and then mobilize resources at national level, but also international level. This exercise was quite a participatory exercise, where we believed and we really built on the experience and the capacity of the different cities. So we created a task force made of course, FAO, the Milan Pact Secretariat, RUAF, and a number of cities that participated in helping identifying the structure, defining the structure of the framework, but also the specific indicators to characterize the different aspects of the pact, as part of the pact. Basically, sorry, I think there is an animation here. Yeah, okay. I didn't know that. 1 second. Okay, so basically the framework follows the 6 work stream of the Milan Pact. So governance, food production, supply and distribution, food waste, social and economic equity, and sustainable diets. So we decided to characterize the framework following the streams, but also the recommended actions. So we defined the outcome areas where we want to have a change and impact, and we identified 37 voluntary actions recommended by the Milan Pact to achieve the outcome. Yes?
Guido, sorry, apparently the presentation is not going for some of the people, so maybe you can put it not in presentation mode. I mean, for me it's working, but apparently I'm receiving messages on WhatsApp. So maybe you can...
Let me try again.
Yes. Sometimes it happened to me as well. Just not put it on presentation mode. Okay, like this one. You can enlarge it a bit, and then I think it will be fine.
Okay, but if I okay, let me try again. If I do this way, do you see that?
I can see it, but some other people cannot.
Okay,
I
let
see
me.
a thumb up. More,
Okay.
many thumb
Now
up, many thumbs up. Yes,
Okay,
everyone
good,
sees
thanks.
it.
So I go ahead then. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
So this process ended up with the definition of 44 indicators across the 6 work streams. These 44 indicators were, of course, focusing mainly on, let's say, trying to balance the perspective from cities from the global north and cities from the global south, and with the idea behind of developing indicators and metrics that were somehow representative for different aspects, but at the same time achievable, measurable. No, so it was really a compromise between measurability and representativity. Of course, this was also accompanied by a detailed document with guidelines on how to use the indicator, how to collect information, and how to use it, how to monitor. We also developed a detailed handbook through the implementation of 3 case studies. So basically, we piloted the framework in 3 cities that are Antananarivo in Madagascar, Quito in Ecuador, and Nairobi in Kenya. We organized a number of technical webinars for the pilot cities to share the learning and also review the progress, and we organized a training workshop in Rome in 2019. So this is more or less the results, and there is a documentation, a set of documents related to the framework that is available in the FAO websites, and you can familiarize with that. So of course, this was the initial milestone of this journey, and as Filippo mentioned, from this framework, there's been an evolution, and of course this framework is an important milestone, but of course has some gaps, especially in terms of climate. No? So understanding how climate has, let's say, an impact on urban food systems, and this is why the Barcelona Challenge has been one of the follow-up measures to build on this experience. I'll stop here, and I'll get back to you, Cecile. Thank you.
Thank you, Guido, and all the FAO colleagues for your contribution and for the fruitful collaboration that ties our organizations since the very beginning. Now I am happy to welcome on this virtual stage Maria Carrascosa from the Network of Spanish Cities for the Agroecology to explain the process that led from the Barcelona Challenge to the MFPP working group on climate action and to this new tool for cities. Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cecile. I am going to share my screen. Yes, do you see it full screen? Great.
Yeah.
Okay, very happy to be here. Thank you very much with such a high number of participants. I am very happy to see all of you here. I am Maria Carrascosa, as Cecile said. I am an agronomist, and I am the Food and Climate Project Manager in the Spanish City Network for Agroecology, which is an association formed by 30 municipalities from all around Spain, with the objective to catalyze the development of agroecology-oriented local food policies. I am going to present to you the work we have done to integrate climate action in local food policies, especially at the local level, at the global level. Sorry, as maybe you see you here. Let me just. Oh no, not done. As Filippo mentioned before, we started this work in 2021 because we had the 7th Global Forum in, it was October 2021 in Barcelona. And this 7th was a kind of excuse to generate a process that we decided to be focused on climate action. And why climate action? Because some days after the 7th Global Forum, there was the COP26 in Glasgow, where there were some voices saying we need to integrate food systems in climate action policies. So we decided to launch what then was called the Barcelona Challenge for Good Food and Climate, that had or presented two main challenges. The first one was the mitigation, so the need to reduce the GHG emissions of local food systems. And the second one was the adaptation, so to adapt local food systems to climate emergency and to the extreme climatic events that we had already in that moment. We did this work with the political and financial commitment of Barcelona City Council and the Cadaso Foundation, and of course with the collaboration of a lot of global partners. The main one was the Milan Pact and C40, but then there were many other partners active on food policies, on food sovereignty, on agroecology that participated and reinforced the process. As Filippo also said, we built this Barcelona process from other processes that already happened before 2021, especially the C40 Declaration on Food and Climate, that was based on the fact that the dietary changes, so especially eating more plant-based food, reducing industrial meat and dairy, reduction in sugar and ultra-processed food, and avoiding domestic food waste and food waste in the food chain, provide us a reduction of emissions of 50% of the emissions of the agri-food system at the city level. So from that, and bearing in mind the agroecological perspective needed on food policies as a tool to develop sustainable, healthy, fair local food systems, we proposed cities from all around the world to choose among 28 actions, which were the actions that they could develop in 2021-2030 to integrate the climate action perspective in food policies. Of course, we used the framework for action of the Milan Pact, and this process conducted with cities led us to have the final commitment of 24 cities from different countries, 12 countries in total, that collectively they proposed different actions in this time frame that are able to reduce GHG emissions, but also that are able to benefit, to generate benefits at the socioeconomic level, but also at the ecological level. So, for instance, prevent deaths, or generate jobs, or save water, or increase benefits. From all of that process, where we learn many different things and where we generate alliances with many stakeholders all around the world, we saw that we needed to capitalize that process and to scale up that process. And in practical terms, we thought that the meaning of this scaling up was to integrate the climate action in the MUFPP recommendations and indicators, as Brian from RUAF is going to present later. So we start working with RUAF and the MUFPP, also with the Spanish City Network for Agroecology in that process, and to have the direct voice of the cities in that in the assessment of the of this work. We transformed the group of cities of the Barcelona Challenge for Good Food and Climate into a working group within the MUFPP, a working group specialized in food and climate, on the one hand. But on the other hand, we also wanted to see in practical terms to what extent this proposal of new recommendations and new indicators was achievable, or it was possible to implement it in a city. So we worked with 3 Spanish cities, so Rivas, Granollers, and Barcelona, and they conducted an assessment of this proposal in 3 steps. The first one was to assess the actions committed to the challenge, so the evolution of this commitment. The second step has been to assess the implementation of those recommendations and indicators proposed through this work. And then the third step was to present the results, that in a way is something that we are going to do today. So this has been the process we have done together so far. And back to you, Cecile. Very happy to see all we have built in these last 4 years. That is not a lot. 4 years is quite a small amount of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Yes, in my view, we should really somehow credit the Barcelona Challenge for having shed light on the power of cities in addressing the climate emergency through their food policies. And also, as also Guido mentioned, to make the MUFPP like a living tool for cities, adapting over time to meet cities' needs and realities. So now let's go and we're going to welcome Brian Cook from RUAF, a long-standing partner organization of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, to present us the proposed complementary MUFPP actions and indicators inspired by the Barcelona Challenge. As I said, this tool is a proposed set of complementary and updated actions and indicators for cities. And Brian, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thanks, Cecile. Let me know if that is showing okay.
Yes, very well.
Great. Thank you, Cecile. Good to be here. So yes, as Cecile mentioned, I'm going to speak about the work that we've been doing in developing these new and adapted recommended actions based on the Milan Pact and very much inspired by the Barcelona Challenge. So you can see also the broader team that's been involved in this throughout the last many months, from Cecile, Maria, Joy, also from RUAF, and Filippo as well. So just a bit of background on the process and what the kind of objective of all this. So we put together recommended, adapted, and new Milan Pact actions to integrate climate considerations into urban food policies and activities. So that was the focus. Along the way, we also had a limited number of other changes we made to these actions based on that, but this was not in any way intended to be a full rewrite of the Milan Pact framework. So, for example, there were some additions we made, for example, in specifying, for example, some marginalized communities that we think really should have been included, but this was only in changes we made based on some climate integration and so on. And a reminder, the tool is meant to complement, not replace, the existing Milan framework. And as we've mentioned, these are voluntary actions for cities. So we're hoping this encourages cities to select and adapt the actions indicators that are in this new tool. And very much we're expecting cities to adapt them to fit their local needs and challenges and opportunities and so on. So these are not meant to be a one-size-fits-all for all cities. And we also see this as a document that can be a resource for inspiration and strategic planning. So As we know, it's kind of a menu of options or ideas that for cities that are hoping to make the case across their city stakeholders that there needs to be action around climate and food, that this can help to kind of map out and put some details on what that may look like in their area. So the actual document, and I'll give some examples later, it includes 15 adapted Milan Pact actions, as well as 7 new actions. So these are other things that kind of came up as themes that were outstanding that weren't in the original framework that we thought we should be reflected in this new tool. So in terms of the methodology and development of the process, so it started with desk research that we led, working with the Milan Pact and with Maria at the Spanish municipalities and other stakeholders. The goal was to see what other kinds of actions and indicators were already out there that looked at climate concerns and food-related issues. So obviously we started with the Barcelona Challenge, which is a great roadmap of a wide range of climate concerns related to food and cities. Also looked at the Milan Pact, other resources, and then we looked at many other existing frameworks, the city region food system indicator framework, the resilience framework, the UN indicators, Sustainable Food Cities report, and the HIVOS theory of change report, as well as others as well. So we looked at how we can match the existing framework of the Milan Pact with those of many other frameworks. We had a complex, Excel system where we're looking at all the kinds of different frameworks that were out there and drawing from those to see what matches the existing Milan Pact actions and indicators and how we can integrate some of those things into there. And then we assess whether these adapted actions and indicators could be simplified and combined. Obviously, we didn't want to add a huge amount of more wording to the official Milan Pact actions indicators. We weren't always successful in that, but we also wanted to have lots of details in there on themes that we thought were relevant to this process. So the balance was always striving to provide enough detail in the actions indicators to guide cities, while always also making it broad and adaptable so that it didn't seem that the actions and indicators were targeted to a certain city and certain region. We wanted to make sure that these were kind of open and available to other cities across the world, with the understanding that people are going to need to adapt them to their own circumstances. We had also a stakeholder feedback process to get feedback before we had a draft and then after as well. So we had some webinars last year that some of you may have attended. Also, when we had a draft of the adapted framework, we sent out a survey last summer across all Milan Pact signatory cities, and we had lots of feedback, formal feedback from various cities telling us about all kinds of comments around different actions and indicators. We also had targeted outreach to key partners, including FAO and others. And as Maria mentioned, as part of the Barcelona Challenge, it was really helpful to have feedback from those 3 pilot cities. So they gave us a lot of detailed feedback, which was helpful in that they had spent a lot of time looking at depth and how it would actually look for them to use, I think, was it 4, 5, or 6 of the actions indicators themselves. So we got a lot of information from them as well, especially around questions of having data to be able to work with the indicators, implementation challenges, and governance as well. So we had a lot of feedback that was helpful in doing the next round of revisions, especially on questions of language and clarity and feasibility and those kinds of things that helped us get to the point we are now with the document and the tool. So I'll just show you some examples of what's in the tool and the kind of changes that we made. So you'll see the different columns here. We have the theme, that's the original Milan Pact theme. We have the original Milan Pact action, then the adapted one, and some examples of related Milan Pact indicators that we've added. You'll see everything that's in capitalized and green font. This is all the text and language that was added as part of this process, added to the original Milan Pact. So for this example, this is the one around governance, around developing and revising urban food policies and plans. And you'll see in the adapted framework, we've included the point about specifying those plans and policies that embed the food and climate nexus. Now, we did get some feedback from cities on this idea of a food and climate nexus, and that may not be a familiar term. We had different ideas of how to frame this. In the end, we've kept it for now, but we've included a definition that's at the bottom again. This is an evolving thing. Maybe this is a different term that we want to use. So that definition that's a bit smaller font here in the presentation is in the tool itself. Again, if this idea of a nexus doesn't work for cities, and certainly feel free to use something else, food and climate connection or something like that. And then we have the example of an indicator for this one. We have sustainable diets and nutrition. So in the original framework, we didn't have a lot around sustainable diets. This was the main one, I believe, talking about promoting sustainable diets through education, health promotion, and so on. In here, the notable addition, as you can see, is that we've specified that perhaps cities should promote sustainable diets using the planetary health diet, which many of you will know. It's been out for several years now, a science-based diet promoting the types of food that should be on the plate in different regions. Notice the wording here, we've said using frameworks such as planetary health diet, as opposed to specifying that this is the only framework that one must use to promote sustainable diets. So again, we're trying to provide some support and direction, but not in any way trying to be prescriptive, and that this model, the planetary health diet, is the only one that's worth doing. And we added also here procurement policies as a useful thing that should be added as a tool that can be used in promoting sustainable diets. And that actually came out of some feedback from some of the cities. And there you'll see again an example of an indicator in looking at the number of city-supported activities for promoting sustainable diets, again, potentially based on using the planetary health diet. Now in social and economic equity, this one's about using cash and food transfers and other forms of payments. You'll see some additions there. We've specified local and sustainable food in the wording of that. We've also added a number of changes, see at the bottom there, having to do with specifying some other marginalized groups. So that was one, again, that's not specific to climate change, but some necessary additions we felt in this particular action. You will note, of course, that by doing these changes, we do make the updated wording of the action quite lengthy. That was certainly feedback we got from many cities, that these are very lengthy. I believe there are some abbreviated forms of all the Milan Pact actions on the website. This is the full wording of all the actions. So while we recognize that it's quite lengthy, again, these are not meant to be kind of snappy, abbreviated actions. These are meant to be kind of fuller, more detailed proposed actions that cities can use, and then you can adapt them or truncate them as you wish. Now, in the next section, we have new actions. So we've got 15 adapted actions that are proposed and some indicators, but other climate considerations came up that didn't seem to fit into something that we could integrate into the existing framework. So we decided to actually come up with new actions altogether, part of this framework. So this one, the new action being committing to quantitative reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in the food system. And then we have a number of proposed indicators around greenhouse gas emission assessments, reduction support, number of food businesses receiving guidance, and so on. So the obvious omission here is that there's no indicator for cities on how to actually quantify the greenhouse gas emissions from their urban or peri-urban food system. We discussed that, and obviously that's a hugely complicated task, given that so much of the emissions and environmental impact of food systems happens on the production side, and most of that is not in or near cities. So we did not include that indicator, but if cities do want to in some way measure their impact, I have a note here in the bottom in the Barcelona challenge that Maria spoke about. They do have a tool on their website that helps cities estimate the size of the greenhouse gas emission reductions of their policies. Again, that does not help cities specifically quantify them, but it helps them to estimate the magnitude of reductions based on what types of policies. So this is just one example of the many, many tools that are available within this whole network of these organizations and people working on these issues that can be available to cities. Another new one is around social economic equity, providing access to community food preparation and distribution facilities. This was a new one, and we have a few different indicators here around the number of community food preparation facilities and so on. And many of these were borrowed from can't remember offhand which framework, but these are kind of established indicators that have been available in other frameworks. I think that's the last one here. So around food waste, I have a couple of new ones here that were added. So one around supporting business initiatives that promote sustainable packaging alternatives. This is something that came up in our conversations and looking at other frameworks and what's going on. So this was felt to be an important one to add. There's some discussion about whether we could integrate it into existing one, but we decided to add it as a separate one as well. And then the last one here around implementing effective behavior change interventions to reduce food loss and waste. So in terms of the indicators, we adapted one from the existing Milan Pact indicator number 42, and then added one around the percentage decrease in supply chain and consumer food loss and waste. And certainly with all of these, there are questions about data availability with cities. And as we have discussed, the whole point of the framework is that cities are not meant to take all 44 plus the new indicators, but they select which ones are most important to them and work with them and adapt them as needed. So just moving forward, I'll conclude there. So the actions and indicators are meant to support cities with these flexible tools and drive meaningful change on food and climate, with the caveat that these are all meant to be adapted by cities to their own context, and hopefully there can be lots more peer-to-peer support and perhaps more support through the Milan Pact or others as this evolves over time to help cities drive meaningful change, and lots of other resources on the Milan Pact website. Thanks. I'll pass it back to you, Cecile.
Thank you, Brian. I am confident that this work will be much useful for many MUFPP cities and beyond, and also that it reflects also the great work that many cities and partners around the world are already doing in this regard. And talking about cities, I am happy to have Joy Carey from RUAF to lead the discussion with 3 MUFPP cities that are currently working on the climate-related actions with their food policies. So it will be much interesting to hear the first-hand experience. Joy, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Cecile, and thanks, speakers so far. So hi, everybody. In this next part of our webinar, we'll hear from 3 cities about a practical challenge that each of them is addressing, which connects food with action on climate. And we've asked our speakers to present their work in a way that relates to the structure of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact monitoring framework. So that means to identify clear desired outcomes, the changes that we're trying to achieve, to identify relevant indicators that help them to monitor progress towards these desired outcomes over time, and of course actions that deliver the outcomes. So for each food and climate example we're going to hear, we'll learn about what outcomes each city is trying to achieve and why these are important. We'll learn about how each city is monitoring progress towards achieving these desired outcomes using adapted or locally relevant indicators, maybe inspired by the Milan Pact and maybe from other places. And of course, what actions have been taken to achieve this. And the speakers will also share with us some helpful learnings and insights. So I'd like to welcome our first speaker from the city of Belo Horizonte in Brazil, one of the participating cities in the Barcelona Challenge. So Juliana Matos Magnani is Director for Promotion of Agroecology and Urban Agriculture. Juliana, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I thank the invitation of Belo Horizonte to share here today our experience with the urban agriculture policy. Can you put the presentation on, please?
Can you see it full screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So next. I did, okay. I'll start with a quick overview of Belo Horizonte. Belo Horizonte is the capital city of Minas Gerais, located in the southeast region of Brazil. It has a population of around 2,300,000 inhabitants, and it's a fully urbanized city with no rural areas. And like other cities in developing countries, parks and other vacant public lands face pressure from informal housing settlements, from illegal dumping, and suffer from lack of vegetation, poor biodiversity, compacted soil, and also we face food insecurity among the population. Next. By 2030, Belo Horizonte is projected to face several climate-related challenges, including flooding, dengue fever, and other arboviral diseases, heat waves, and landslides. And as you can see in the map, the risks are unevenly spread by its territory, and the poorest areas are expected to suffer the most. So in response to that, the city has implemented a series of measures to mitigate those risks. Next. And one of the key strategies Belo Horizonte is developing is urban agriculture policy. It's a policy that supports agriculture by providing municipal land for agriculture, along with necessary infrastructure, agriculture inputs for the vegetable gardens that we call productive unity. Community participation is a central pillar of the policy. We engage people in food and security situation. And also we implemented agroecological production methods supported by agricultural extension services, so that we can ensure that food production is both sustainable and accessible to everyone, and also pesticide free. The city has also focused, we also have focused on rehabilitating areas that have been degraded and returned them into productive agricultural spaces. And with this policy, we also aim food sovereignty by reinforcing the production of species from our local food culture, and also by reducing the dependence on other municipalities of food production. We cannot be 100% independent, but we can reduce significantly the need for food. So with this approach, we join efforts on food production, on environmental recovery, and also in job and income generation. So next, please. So those are some of the expected impacts on climate change vulnerabilities. So in the first column, we listed some actions from the policy that we believe it brings impacts on climate change. In the second column, we present the expected results, and the last column, the indicators we use for that. So from utilizing a vacant or unused land for food production, we expect to reduce arboviral diseases by preventing the accumulation of illegal waste, and also by keeping the ground weeded. And for the indicators for that, we use the number of productive units and the total area of cultivated land. For the increase of permeable areas and urban afforestation, and also the increase of biodiversity, we expect to have impacts on urban heat island, on fire risk, and also on the reduction of vegetation suppression. And the indicators we use are the numbers of productive units, area of cultivated land, and also aerial photos. For implementing of food production in flooding areas in projects that involves expropriation, we expect to have impacts on flood risk, because we try to guarantee that those areas that were expropriated are not going to be reoccupied with housing. And so the indicators are the permanence of those product units that we implement in those areas, in those flooding areas. And also for the increase of offer of locally produced pesticide-free food, we expect to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in food transportation. And the indicators are the increase of the commercialization of urban agriculture products. We have several programs that aims the commercialization of it, so we measure them to see the evaluation. So next. As for now, Belo Horizonte has 57 productive units, which of them 9 are urban agroforests that presents more trees for the city. We have 313 registered agricultures, We have 122,000 square meters of productive land in agroecological terms. We have 4 market stalls for the commercialization. And also by the end of this year, we're gonna have 10 productive units providing vegetables for the school meal program weekly. And okay, we can, next. And this is an example of the impact of an urban agroforest. So previously, this land belonged to an implemented park and was subject to illegal dumping. It had a risk of fire. You can see in the first photo that there's signs of erosion. And we started a unit there in 2019. We can see that with only 1 year, we have noticeable changes. And in only 5 years, we can see a remarkable change with a lot of trees that grew. And so we can see, we had also the reduction of the fire in this place. So it's a very quick change for this effort that we make. Next one. So I believe that Belo Horizonte's success with this policy to have a strong public policy that provide land, we provide technical support, we monitored, and also we try to link with other ongoing projects. So we try to reinforce both projects, trying to strengthen both food security and climate resilience. And also a huge key factor in these initiatives are community engagements, because we include people participating in the planning, in the implementation, and after with the management of the place. And this is a little bit that I wanted to bring here today to you.
Thank you so much, Juliana. That was really inspiring, and I hope you saw the applause and the hearts appearing over your slides. I think everybody learned from that. I'm going to welcome our second speaker, who is from the city of Rivas Valciamadrid in Spain, another of the participating cities in the Barcelona Challenge. So welcome, Alberto Cruz, who is an agricultural engineer specialized in agroecology, project director at the environmental consulting cooperative Heliconia, and coordinator of Soto de Guillo Agroecological Park. Alberto, over to you.
Thank you very much, Joey. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this meeting and this seminar. I don't know if you're gonna share my presentation, or shall I do it? I can do it, so I'm doing it. Okay, I think you can see it now.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. So I'm presenting this practical example from Rivas Valciamadrid. First of all, Rivas is a city with a population of 100,000 people living 15 kilometers to the east of the city of Madrid. It's a very urbanized area with some ecological islands and corridors like the Jarama River, where the Soto del Grillo Agroecological Park is implemented. The municipality food policy promotes a sustainable food system based on short food supply chains by providing a municipal land bank with technical assistance service to the entrepreneurs, while foresting biodiversity and urban-rural linkages between producers and consumers. It allows adaptation and mitigation of the climate emergency by promoting the implementation of agroecological food production within the municipality itself. This makes it possible to replace the consumption of food from distant sources with a 0-kilometer diet. This is one of the main points that makes this policy work mitigating climate emergency, as there isn't a strong agricultural sector in Madrid region, so we have to bring 99% of our groceries from far away, mainly from the Mediterranean coast. Also, the trees planted in the park, thanks to the cultivation using agroecological techniques of the park's produces allow for a very important reduction of greenhouse gases. What outcomes we see and we want to see in the park? We already, Rivas has already its own land bank owning the land. The Rivas City Council didn't have any arable land to offer potential producers, so it exchanged urban municipal land for arable land, so they could offer it to new producers. In 13 years, 9 agroecological projects have been established in the park, and there are currently about 16 people working on the 9 projects. They are cultivating 18 hectares of irrigated land and 30 hectares of rain-fed land. This has made it possible to address a little bit the lack of generational renewal in agriculture. We are working on the incorporation of new agroecological projects that distribute through short food supply chains. And we have focused on these particular outcomes because prior to the agroecological park, there wasn't any horticultural production in the municipality or nearby. Therefore, facilitating the sustainability of agroecological projects has been a priority for the local government. And how do we measure success? We do it by assessing the number of producers and agroecological surveys. Also, we use the RUAF's proposal or adapted indicator, which is number of peri-urban food producers that benefited from technical training, as Brian told us before, and the research. This is very important for us. We have conducted a study on the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions thanks to the park in collaboration with the Spanish Agroecological Cities Network. Thanks to the replacement of long supply chains with short food supply chains, as well as agroecological farming, and the more than 1,000 trees, fruit trees, shrubs, and hedges planted in the park, 1.5 million kilos of carbon dioxide equivalent are reduced per year. The actions we take in the park are agricultural, business, and commercial technical assistance, which is offered to the projects cultivating in the park. One of the goals is to promote the park and its projects through courses, visits to the park, school workshops, agroecology festivals, the trademark of the park, and more. And this work allows us to make the park and its projects known to the citizens of Rivas. The next challenge is to allocate the remaining land to incorporate new farmers to make the park fully operational. And finally, the learning and insights we can share. One of the key factors for the success of the agroecological park is cooperation between municipal departments. Food policies involve various responsibilities that fall under different departments in the council, such as ecological transition, economic development, education, citizen participation. Almost all of the departments are involved in food policies. Therefore, the greater the coordination between departments, the greater the impact of the food policy being implemented. It is also essential to have access to a specialized external technical assistance if the municipality lacks its own resources. Food production is inherently rural, while municipalities and administrations are typically urban. This gap often leads to a lack of understanding between institutions regarding the challenges and difficulties faced by agriculture, making a specialized assistance in food production necessary. And lastly, I would like to highlight that from the very beginning of the agroecological park project's design, reducing the carbon footprint through the promotion of local agroecological producers was a key priority. However, it was not until we conducted the greenhouse gas reduction study in collaboration with the Spanish Agroecological Cities Network that the significance of this reduction was quantitatively assessed. And that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I could gladly answer them after Nairobi's intervention. Thank you very much.
Alberto, thank you so much for this great example again, and for bringing our attention to the importance of cooperation and coordination to really make the best of food policies. So I'd like to welcome our third speaker from the city of Nairobi, Kenya. Nairobi is one of the 3 cities to pilot the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact Monitoring Framework in 2019, as Guido Santini mentioned. And the city has gone on to develop an in-depth monitoring plan for their very comprehensive and ambitious Nairobi Food Systems food strategy. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Patrick Muyururi, Food System Officer for Nairobi City County, with whom I've personally had the pleasure of working. So welcome, Patrick. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for this, and I would ask that you can share the presentation from your side. Okay. Thank you. So in that first slide, I would like you to introduce to you to Nairobi. Actually, right now we're in the afternoon, maybe you could go to the introduction slide, please. Very first slide. Yes. So our approach to food action in Nairobi, we are focusing it on the market, and we can see the City Park market where you have fruit and vegetables on sale. Then on the left, in the last 14 days, we have had a solar panel cold store that has been installed as one of the activities towards achieving food action on climate. Next. Okay. So what we are presenting for Nairobi is a case study for one startup that's called Soko Kijiji Limited, and it's in one of our markets that we call City Park Market in Nairobi. This is one of the market out of 16, and it's actually a very busy market. And over the last maybe 10 years or so, there was a lot of food waste, and there used to be a lot of garbage that is collected. However, we have this group by some youths that's called Soko Kijiji. They are doing some online marketing, and here they sell fruits, vegetable meats, cakes, name it. And what they have simply done is to improve food access, and therefore reduces waste, and therefore promotes sustainable food system. So we are focusing actually on market efficiency and food waste reduction. Now we have, as I've just said in the opening, we have just recently installed a 10 metric ton solar powered cold room, and which gives support to the market, and this also through the kind support of C40 cities. Next. Okay, so the outcome that we see is increased efficiency in farm produce delivery, and actually it actually takes about 45 minutes when you place your order and when you get it. And the photograph on the right shows in one of the dispatch shops for this particular group. And you can see one of the other things that we have also achieved is that there is employment creation for the youth, and I've also already said that we are trying to improve market access by strengthening the market linkages between the farmers and as well as the urban consumers. The next, please. Okay, then how we measure success. This particular venture started as a very simple online venture, and it started with one youth. And right now, this particular one youth, he has employed others, and now they are about 30 of them. And they started with very few clients, but from what I've learned from the youth is that nowadays they get between 200 to 300 clients per week. And they have had now over a few years that they have been in operation, a customer base of about 16,000 users. So this is a great improvement when we compare with there before. And this one has greatly reduced the amount of waste. And if you can see on the right, there's a photograph of where we used to collect the waste. And it actually used to be overflowing with the mountain. But right now, what we can see there is just a few bags of waste. So that reduction is one of the issues that we want really to bring out clearly as a part of assessing our progress. Next, please. Okay, the actions again taken on the picture on the right shows some two young ladies who are literally taking orders because it's an online market, and basically they are just getting the orders, and once they get the orders, the distribution is actually done by motorbike riders, and therefore what we have just said is that we are also trying to integrate technology on the digital platforms in distribution of food. They're also using reusable lead baskets instead of using the single-use polythene bags. And as I've also highlighted as well, there is also the construction of the solar-powered cold storage. Next, please. As we are coming to the close, what have we learned? One of the things is that active participation, especially by the youth and all the various stakeholders, is very important. We're also saying that the youth are taking risks in innovations, and this requires resilience and adaptability. We also seen that we are also empowering the youth or the young the entrepreneurs in food and climate solutions, and we also leveraging on technology in the advanced cities. This may seem to be something virtual, but for us in Nairobi, we are seeing that we are actually literally equipping a digital platform and also increasing the market efficiency. So, and we also right now, again, leveraging already renewable energy. And almost finishing now, next. What we are then saying is that we've just said that we have done that in one market out of 16. So we would support and scale up youth-led innovations across the town or across the city. We can also enhance digital infrastructure for smart food systems, as well as strengthen partnerships in food, climate, and sustainability, as well as invest in climate-smart agriculture and logistics, as well as investing in solar-powered cold rooms, which rely on renewable energy. Thank you very much.
Patrick, thank you so much. Another very inspiring and innovative example of a multi-purpose initiative. I think we've seen from all three of these city examples that each one, yes, we're talking about food and climate, but the social and economic aspects are also very much integrated. So we can't give you all a round of applause, but I think everybody is wanting to do that. So on behalf of all the participants, huge thank you to our three speakers. And I pass the floor back to you, Cecile.
Thank you very much, Joy, and thank you very much to all our speakers today. It has been really inspiring to hearing from you. I see that time is quite tight, but I would like to give participants the possibility to have a short Q&A session before giving the floor back to Filippo for a short conclusion and way forward. But before this, shall we have a quite quick photo opportunity? So if you'd like to be featured on the picture, please turn your camera on for a very quick picture. I'm asking colleagues to help me in screenshotting. So, yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone. So, yeah, are there any questions you'd like to ask to our speakers? Please raise your hands and we will open your mic, or you can also write your question in the chat box, as some of you already did. I don't know if there are any questions. I saw a couple of hands before. All right, there is a question from Matthew Thompson to Patrick. Please, any details on your solar fridge? So Patrick, do you want to take it and giving some more details?
Okay, thank you. As I've said, the solar-powered cold storage, it's I think about 10 metric tons and about 16 kilowatts power. And this was through the kind involvement of C40. And as Cecil had, Joy had actually mentioned, C40 actually supported Nairobi by when we are doing our strategy, and even now when we get now to the markets and they are still supporting. And what really happens is that this cold storage, the traders, they are able to put their fruits and vegetables there overnight, and therefore that reduces a lot of losses. Now, the other thing is that electricity in Kenya is quite expensive. So when there is an investment in solar power, it's actually something that is renewable energy, and that we really applaud the C40 support. Now, and we are trying to see if we can replicate this maybe in another 3 or 4 markets as a way of reducing that waste that we get from the fruits and vegetables. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Another question for Alberto this time. Could you please say anything more about overcoming the gaps in understanding between rural and urban governance / institutions mindset through technical assistance? Alberto, you are muted.
Yes, we could do like a whole seminar about this, about this theme. We are an outside technical assistance to the council, so we have experience in working directly with producers and with agricultors, and also with administrations. This gap, in the one of the ways of closing this gap is to especially put together and take to speak with each other, the agricultors with the technicians and the politicians from the council. That's the best way. In the park, we try to have meetings, and we go with the technical personnel and the political personnel with the park, so they can meet each other and they can know from firsthand the realities and the challenges of the agricultures in the land. There's also in the Spanish network, agroecology for cities for agroecology, in the network, that's also a good place that the technical people and the politicians meet the reality of the agriculture in Spain, and they also meet other technicians from other councils, and also the policies that they are implementing in their towns. And that's also quite interesting to get to know the policies, because sometimes the departments that are working with food policies, like in Rivas right now, is the economic development. That's very good for giving assistance to the producers, but they don't have the experience in the rural life. So that's what we try to do, this nexus between the rural agriculture and the more urban city. But we could be talking about this like for the rest of the day. I don't know if you want to know something more specific.
Thank you, Alberto. I see that there are other questions in the chat. For some, I've tried to answer, and I maybe ask the other speakers to get back in the chat, because in the interest of time, I see that we are 12 minutes ahead of time. And well, in Italy, it is accepted to have 15 minutes more, but we cannot go further. So I would like maybe to give the floor back to Filippo for some conclusions, but also to tell us about the way this tool will be shared with cities and experts and practitioners, and for a quick way forward. Filippo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cecilia, and thank you everyone for joining. Once again, the very important number of participants represent the interest of this tool and the way that the Milan Pact has in front is in front of us is very clear. So what about the next steps? I will be very quick. So now we will do our best to spread the tool to our signatory cities. So we will do it in the next weeks through all our channels. But what is more, I encourage all cities to participate to the Milan Pact Awards call that will be open at the beginning of April, and please do submit all your best practices on food and climate, and even better if you can relate your best practices to the complementary framework for action and indicators that will be very interesting for us and for all the community. Do submit also the pilot projects of the Barcelona Challenge and also of the last implementation in the Spanish cities. Let me conclude by saying that as you might know, next October we will celebrate the 10 years of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, and the mayor of Milan convened the next global forum in Milan to celebrate our 10 years together. This will happen in the week of the World Food Day, and I am sure that there will be another moment and another opportunity to deepen during the global forum this very important work for our cities. The global forum is an opportunity to represent to ourselves what we've been achieving in the last 10 years, and of course this work is very important, but will also be the occasion to draft the 10 years ahead, and let's work together in order to have the food and climate as a main priority for our future. So we are looking forward to see you in Milan in October and keep talking about this very important issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Filippo. Thanks to all participants, but a very special thanks to La Red, the Municipio por la Agroecología, Carasto Foundation, RUAF, FAO, and everyone attending this webinar and supporting us. So wishing you a great day ahead. And as Filippo said, see you soon in Milano. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.